Hello, everybody. I am seeing who all is here so far. It's 3 o'clock on a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Sunday. And we are all here from a global family coming together for this webinar today. And before I start, I just want to put a shout out that if you want to be on camera, you're more than welcome to. You can tell who's already in the mentorship. They are used to having themselves on camera. So, feel free to join in. This is how we do our classwork, actually, is we do it live with video so that we can all see each other and kind of have that interaction. So I'm going to, there's a few people who are still coming in, I think, and we will go ahead and get started, though. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about the South Direction, the Sacred Heart Warrior, and I'm going to do a couple of things with you. And before I get too started, I would love to give you guys a poll because I just want to see where everybody kind of is in your life. So I'm going to launch this poll if I know how to do this right. So let's just see. You should see some questions, and if you could just answer that, and that gives me an idea of where you are. And I'm assuming everybody can hear me. Pam, Jillian, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you.
I can hear you.
Thank you, Ron. Sonny.
How do I turn the picture on?
You should have your turn the camera on.
Yeah.
Let me hear. I can turn it
my
on.
name on there, but not my my happy face.
I know. I miss your happy face. Come on.
Start video.
Yeah, start video. There you go, Ron. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, Ron, or you did already. Okay. Or no. Yeah. There you go. Ron always has a helicopter. Wow, everybody wants to dismantle some emotions. All right. So there's some of you who haven't answered this question yet. I just want to, there we go. Okay. Great. So let me just do, there we go. Now I can see everybody. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. This gives me a really good idea, and it's amazing to me. I don't know if you guys can see this on your side. I don't think you can. But, oh, here, I can share results. So what's interesting to me is that the emotional blocks obviously gets a really big high number up there out of everybody. And I see that a lot with people who come here for work, for retreats, and for those who are in the mentorship. So thank you for filling that out. That gives me an idea. So I would love to do something kind of out of the ordinary. You'll get to know me. That's just how I roll. And I want to read you a story that I wrote last year for the South Direction. And so it's going to kind of be like a meditation. So I want you to get comfortable and settle into where you are and close your eyes. And I want you, before you do that, I want you to really attempt to put some sensory into this story. I want you to use your sense of sight and your inner sight, your sense of smell, your recollection, your sense of temperature, the space around you. We don't have just 7 sights. We actually, it's been calculated now, it's up to 21 sensory perceptions that we have in our life. And so I want you to try to engage as many as you can as I read this, and I want you to really envision it and make it a reality in your mind's eye. I'll get my old lady glasses on here. So in the hour of the noontime sun, on the day of the summer solstice, and during the prime of our young adulthood, the south direction, or also known as Alban Heffen, light of the shore in Celtic traditions, begins its full force. When a person reaches into their memory bank of earlier summers, often what is reflected are the times of summer vacations, playing in the waves of the ocean, or swimming in a lake, and finding yourself soaking up the warm rays of the sun. Fun, laughter, playfulness, and even sexual energy are often embedded into these long ago summer experiences. And these are the moments that bring us back to the feeling of the good old days. So when I asked a group of students to reflect back on their feelings of summer, these memories were often the most prominent, and yet followed by a reflection of sadness that those days were long gone. Summers carried a different vibration for them now than it did when they were in their late childhood or young adulthood. Innocence was replaced by responsibility, the laughter replaced by stress and worry, the playfulness replaced by the mandates of a real adult life. And how often do we deny ourselves permission to be mischievous, playful, and spontaneous? We find ourselves feeling the burden of not wanting to appear childish or immature, so we adopt a more grown-up persona that edges out the creativity, the brilliance that the south direction exudes. The energy of the south direction evokes the emotional and intuitive bodies. It begs you to feel rather than to think, and it asks you to express yourself through more creative outlets such as dancing, singing, playing, art, lovemaking, nature, and more. If we adopted the analogy of an alcoholic family where everyone has a role, the South would be the joker, the lighthearted one, the life of the family. And she will take you to the lake and entice you to skinny dip, telling you that the reason she strips off her clothes is so that she can feel the cool, fresh water next to her skin. And she will lie on a warm rock in the hot sun and marry herself to Mother Earth and Father Sky. She will let the warmth of the sun penetrate through her bones and into the marrow of her beingness. And next she will bring out a vibrant, colorful tapestry sewn together by her own hands and gently lay a feast of gorgeous foods from her garden. Bright red tomatoes, deep green cucumbers, a bowl of the sweetest, most succulent blackberries and raspberries. And she will pluck a berry into her mouth and take several minutes just to consume one. She wants the richness out of every sensational bite and doesn't want to miss a single moment of its sweetness. Her laugh comes from the center of joy, and she tells stories of love and sorrow. And she feels the spectrum of emotion, sometimes simultaneously, and other times over the course of stringed together moments. And when grief comes, you will witness her plunge into it, and as she moves through it, you watch the wave bring her back up to her center point. And at the end of the afternoon, she swoops you up in her arms and she begins dancing and singing and moving the two of you together in perfect rhythm with the earth. The nature spirits begin to come out from their hiding places, dancing and frolicking among the trees and flowers, oftentimes mimicking the two of you. And somewhere in the hours you spend with this lovely divine being, you begin feeling a tiny, tiny prick of emotion waking up inside of you. And as it begins to blossom and unfold, a sense of knowing envelops you. You have been here before, it says, and you know that the voice is correct. You have been here. You once danced and sang and swam naked in the waters and tasted life fully. As this remembrance strengthens, you call out to the spirits of the south, "Come, please, open me up." The dolphin jumps out of the water and brings you the lightness of play and primes your sense of awareness. And the frog hops out from under the large leaves of a nearby plant and brings with it patience. The salmon leaps through the rapids of a nearby river, imparting the keys of deep wisdom. From the distance, you hear the howling of a coyote, and you are reminded once again to just simply play and to learn how to adapt to all the different situations. And finally, a woodpecker flies by to a nearby tree. Cuck, 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 cuck. He rattles off as he pecks at the trunk of an old giant. And in his song, he reminds you the importance of being close to Mother Nature, to drum more and sync your heartbeat to hers. In this colorful menagerie of helping spirits, you get a sense that you are never alone, nor are you ever far from the energy of the south direction and what it brings. You have longed for this energy to crack your heart open and step confidently into its unknown depths. This is where the juiciness of life is, she tells you. Your dreams and your visions are grown in the fields of your open heart, watered by the emotions of curiosity, power, determination, love, and trust, and fertilized by that small, still voice inside of you that speaks the wisdom of the salmon and your guides. But there's a small part of you that still resists, and she senses this. You state your objections to living life fully. I have doubts. I feel too disconnected. I feel guilty if I take time for myself. She sees beyond the veil of what is and can see that you have disconnected from your higher self and that you are hiding yourself behind all the drama and the emotions or the lack of emotions. She sees all the ways in which you keep yourself distracted from the deeper emotions in your heart. And she tells you that forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, to free yourself from the bounds of energy which no longer serve you. And again, you know that she is right. You know all of these things because there is a part of you that has kept that door ajar just enough. With emotions overflowing, you drop to your knees and you feel your brow pressed up against the cool, rich, fertile soil of Mother Earth. And you begin shedding tears that seem as ancient as your soul. Uncontrollable tears streaming down your face and into the soil. It starts out as a small push against your forehead, and then you feel an essence begin to emerge from the earth where your tears fall. And before you can even speak a word, you find yourself witnessing the Goddess Danu standing before you. Danu is the most ancient of all Celtic deities and is considered the great mother of Ireland, an earth goddess, a triple goddess of the maiden, the crone, and the divine lady. You feel her immense power in the air, streaming through the earth and flowing through the waters. She places her hands on your heart and tells you she is here to impart her knowledge, her wisdom, and to be a teacher to you. She will help you to find abundance in all aspects. She tells you that you are a part of the Tuatha De Danann, which means the children of Danu. These are the wise ones, she tells you. And she asks you, how can I be of service? And you begin to tell her all the things in your heart. You tell her of all the ways that you fail to love yourself or to love others unconditionally. You tell her about the fear that blocks you from moving into your sacred purpose and the fear that keeps your heart closed off to others. You tell her of the fear of rejection, the fear of loneliness, the fear of love. You tell her your feelings of being powerless and small, sometimes even insignificant. And she continues to listen deeply to you. You speak of all the times that you have felt numb and far removed from the richness of an embodied life. You share with her your struggles to live a creative and juicy life where there are debts and obligations lingering in the fringes of your life. And when you feel that you have shared all of your struggles, all of your worries, all of your fears and blocks and more, she sits with you in silence, offering nothing more than a quiet space for your spirit to acknowledge all of this and more. And you feel the lightness of her touch, the profoundness of her presence as she offers to you a clear you that is free of stagnant energy, and to remove any blockages so that your efforts will easily flow into fruition. And with this promise, you feel a renewed sense of hope and motivation. And she reminds you the power to create the life that you desire resides only within you. And for a brief moment, she gives you a glimpse of your ascended self, and you feel that she is indeed correct. You are reminded of that deep wisdom that you have inside of yourself. In her presence, you feel worthy and capable of realizing your dreams. And she assures you that you will not be alone on your quest to realign with your divine truth. She invites you to listen closely to spirits and the earth and nature all around you. Do you hear it? She asks. You listen closer, not quite sure what you are hearing, but it has the faint sounds of a beautiful melody. She touches your heart once more, and you feel a wider opening. Suddenly, the sound becomes more distinct and louder. It's music, beautiful, melodious music. What is that song, you ask? It is a song inside of you, she answers. She and the maiden of the south direction begin singing, and soon all the forest spirits are singing as well, and the music makes you happy, and you feel that well of joy inside of yourself. You must learn to sing this song. And with that, she and the maiden of the south direction and all the forest spirits slowly disappear into the light. Noon turns to dusk, summer shifts into autumn, and we move into our older adulthood, taking with us these powers and energies of the south direction. As you sit with this story, the story illustrates very beautifully the energies of the south direction. It's very sensuous and wild and emotional and creative and colorful. It's a tapestry of all the vibrant things in our lives that we have oftentimes muted to fit into this box that we call our life. So I wanted to read that in the beginning to kind of set the stage for today's webinar, and give you really this overlay of how the South is. It is about storytelling and bringing to life this juiciness that we have within us. And before we get more into that, there's quite a few people on here who don't know me yet, and I wanted to just do a brief. This is Dakota. I am me, and I've been teaching this work now for close to 30 years, and specifically the medicine wheel for the last 15 years, when I really began to dive into it and realized what a powerful metaphor it is for life, and for giving myself a framework to bring together all the different tools and modalities and ideas and beliefs that I had in my own life. And the medicine wheel provided this blueprint for me, and then I began to teach it to others. I have, I started out as a massage therapist. I started teaching workshops when I was 22 years old, and I've never stopped since as far as teaching. I went from being a massage therapist to a holographic health practitioner working in holistic medicine. And I did that for a number of years until I really realized, and this is part of what ties into the South direction, people were coming to me with these, ailments and these illnesses that were deep. Their physical bodies were breaking down. And, oftentimes I would see people when they were really at their lowest point. They had given up on Western medicine, and I was oftentimes a last-ditch effort when they came to see me. And it was a turning point for me to really dive more deeply into the soul, because what I have come to believe is that, and know through science and medicine, that the physical body, the symptoms and the ailments that we feel physically are often the manifestations of blocked emotions or areas where we had shut down our soul. And I didn't want to get people at that last stage. I wanted to circumvent them getting to that place. And so I started to do all of my teachings around soul work and what I do now with mentorship. And that was a pivotal moment for me to really realize that people were only getting sick because they weren't taking care of these other bodies that they have, the mental body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. And so that's where I focus. And I've worked with a lot of shamans throughout the world. I shouldn't say the world, Ireland and the United States, Hopi and Navajo, Celtic shamans. And I've just in my own life have learned so many different things, I'm a fearless person. I go out and I do things and I seek adventure, and I've never stopped living as full out as I possibly can. And as a result of that, I have really lived a rich life where I feel like I have experienced many things in my life. Somebody told me recently that it seems like I've lived 22,000 lives in this one lifetime. And I do feel that way. And I feel very fortunate to have, to be that. So I use all of that in what I do. And I learned so much from my clients and my students. I will be the first one to tell you that every single day I show up as a student first, and then I show up as a teacher, because in that learning, I'm able to also translate it into a teachable moment, hopefully. But I'm constantly learning from everybody around me. The students who are in the mentorship, many of them are on here right now, that I learn so much from just in watching their path unfold for them and seeing, the blocks that they blast through, and the blocks that they face, the walls that they have to dismantle. All of that is a teaching moment for me. So that's a little bit about who I am. I get really uncomfortable talking about who I am. I know I'm supposed to, because not everybody on here knows who I am, but that is one of the things that makes me the most uncomfortable. So we're going to glide past that. If you have any other questions about me, you can ask them when we open it up for Q&A. But, when I teach the medicine wheel, I teach it per direction. And I teach it in the direction that I'm in right now. We've got some people here, Jillian, who's in Australia. She's actually going into her soul shaman direction right now. We're going into our sacred heart warrior. So I teach a 9-week class during every season that correlates specifically with the direction that we're in. And for me, what I find, and the reasons why I really feel led to get this work out into the world, is that we are globally, we are really, we're struggling, but we're also blossoming at the same time. It's this paradox that's going on right now that is really, it's tragic and it's beautiful all at the same time. And if any of you know anything about the ascension that we've kind of been going through over the last, since 1998, actually over the last probably 5,000-6,000 years, we've been going through this ascension. But more specifically, since 1998, there's been this influx of energy that has been going on. And as we go into this ascension more into the fourth dimension, we start entering into that place where things are not black and white and polarity. It's more of a paradox where it's this and that. So it is both tragic and it's beautiful. It is both painful and it is excruciating wonderful. And I've been watching that kind of unfold for people. And what's really interesting to me is this past week specifically, I have been available on our website to answer questions and things like that with people. Some of you I've actually talked to. I recognize some of the names. And so I'm talking to these people from all over the world. Today we had Turks and Caicos Islands. We've had Wales. We've had Iran. We've had Israel. Last night I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning talking to somebody in India. It's just been crazy. All these people from all over the world. I think I counted, last count, there were 23 countries who have logged onto our website in the last week alone. And what struck me, and still strikes me, is that here we are in this, each of us in our own little piece of the world. We're all, living our lives, doing what we do. And there's, we put these labels on ourselves. I'm American, I'm a woman, I'm a shaman, I'm this, I'm that. And we put ourselves into these little boxes and we compartmentalize ourselves. And we have all these little boxes all over the world, and we identify with each other as, oh, she's Iranian, or she is Muslim, or she's Scottish, or, all these different labels. This week, specifically, I've known this for a long time, but I think it's been really showing to me this week with talking with all these different people, is that we all bleed the same. We all feel and experience life in very similar ways. We each, you saw it on the poll that we just did, most everybody wants to achieve the same thing, and that is to remove the blocks that keep us from feeling life fully. And it's a very beautiful moment when you can start to realize just how unified we really are, and how much that we all desire that kind of same thing. What I think is really, truly beautiful for me is to be a witness in the mentorship specifically, because that's what I teach every day, is that we have such a global family. And as of date, we have, I think it's like 18 countries represented in the mentorship. And when we come together, it's just a family. We don't see those delineating lines between one another. So when we come to the south direction, that kind of translates in a way where we're working with the emotional body, and we are feeling each other instead of, looking through each other, that mental body of the east direction where we have to compartmentalize everybody. But in the south, we go into that emotional body, and that emotional body begs us to feel with our heart, to feel with that sacral chakra, to open up all of those senses, to feel life fully, and to really be in those moments of juiciness, and to not only connect with somebody through the heart chakra, but also through that intuitive body and that empathetic body, and really feel how creative life is, how creative we are. How many of you have felt like you have kind of lost touch with your creativity? I can, even though most of you aren't on camera, I can pretty much guess that a lot of people here feel like they have kind of taken, their lives are muted in some way, or they feel very separated, those different bodies. So this direction coming up is probably one of my most favorites. I go back and forth between east and south because I have a lot of excess energy in the east, and I'm a workaholic, and I love what I do, and I can really relate to the east energy. But the south is actually, believe it or not, it's my favorite, but it's also my most challenging, because I do have such an excess energy in my east. I tend to be more deficient in my south, so I crave it more. I crave being able to like the story read, lay on Mother Earth and soak up that energy and feel, myself being wrapped up in nature and, skinny dipping and all, being brave and having that, those adventurous moments and stuff like that. Lately, I have been tapping back into it, which is, I haven't skinny dipped yet, but I've been kayaking and hiking, which has been really getting me back into that rhythm of Mother Earth again. And it's been beautiful. So the energy, and I think you guys can see my screen. I'm going to scroll down here just a little bit here. When we start talking about the Sacred Heart Warrior, and let me just speak into a little bit about the soul archetypes. So in the East, we have the Visionary. In the South, it's the Sacred Heart Warrior. In the West, it's the Alchemist or the Earth Keeper. And in the North, it's the Soul Shaman. And then in the center of the medicine wheel sits the Wisdom Keeper. Our goal in life is to be that wisdom keeper in the center where we can actually simultaneously pull energy from all four directions, and we can work the wheel however we need to or want to. Most often, people will have a dominant soul archetype that is how you kind of lead through life. This is how you view the world and your relationships through this lens. Most of the people who come into this kind of, like, if you signed up for this webinar, you're most likely a Sacred Heart Warrior or a Soul Shaman, because they are naturally attracted to those kind of heart-centered, soul-centered modalities, things that kind of, tug at the heart and rip your soul open and make you trudge through great pain and lengths just to get to the other side of it so you can experience joy. Those are the people who are most attracted to this kind of work. I will say, though, that if you're an alchemist or a visionary and you are here, then you are probably a really enlightened visionary or alchemist, because they will be more tapped into the other or archetypes to know that they need to have the South and the North, if that makes sense. So when you come to the South, which is where we are about to head into, June 22nd is the day that we turn over and we close the East direction and we open up the South. And then the energy becomes concentrated in that direction. For those who are south of the equator, they're going to be going into the Soul Shaman, which is more of that introspection. But both of those directions are feminine. So we're both kind of opening up that feminine energy, and that's what we're going to work with for the next 3 months or the next season. The Sacred Heart Warrior is, like I said, the emotional body. And a lot of times, if you're a Sacred Heart Warrior, if you're out of balance, you're going to be either emotionally blocked, that's a deficiency, or you are going to be codependent and your emotions are all over the place, can't contain them. That's an excess energy. And so we try to, my dogs are doing weird stuff out there. When we work with that energy, what we're doing is we're trying to balance out that South energy. So no matter what your archetype is, we work on trying to balance that South energy so that it moves you more into that center of the Wisdom Keeper, of the center of the wheel. So Sacred Heart Warriors, when you are in balance, they have a great deal of emotional intelligence. Like, they can feel the emotion completely, let it wash in them, through them, and then be able to transmute it and turn it into a really great lesson. They're not afraid to go into the grief or the anger or the fear or any of that, but they go into it knowing that it's going to grow them and turn them into better people. They're full of compassion. They're full of empathy. They can really feel what other people are feeling, but they also have that, hopefully that boundary of knowing where they end and where somebody else starts, so they can control their energy so that they're not overwhelmed by the energy of other people. They also tend to come from the heart center, so they're going to, when they listen to you, you feel that heartfelt, deep connection with them, because they really, really are listening not just from the ears, but they're listening from their full body. They also tend to be artists and creative. So even if you are an accountant, if you are out of balance in your south direction, you could have this latent energy and this creativity within you. We actually had, this is a great story. We had a woman who came into the mentorship. She identified herself as a visionary. She was in a government job. Well, she still is. She's in a government job and very right-brained, professional, tons and tons and tons of East energy. She was very organized, goal-oriented, had to have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed and all this kind of stuff. And she did not relate at all with the South energy. So her first direction in the mentorship that she did was the South direction. And let's see if she's on here. She's not on here. Some of the mentorship people will know probably who I'm talking about. So she starts the South direction, and she starts kind of bumping up against some of the lessons and things like that, and starts working through the things that we're going through, and the soul work and the exercises that I give out. And by the end of the South direction, she took the soul archetype test again and found out that she actually is a sacred heart warrior. But it was so closed down to it that she put all that energy into the East direction, diverted it over there, and then, sucked the South dry. And now as she's starting to blossom, she's becoming more of a sacred heart warrior and really feeling into that. And one of the great things about South is we work a lot on self-love and how do we fill our well and put ourselves, make ourselves that priority in our life. And she started doing that, and she's actually gone through the wheel. She's getting ready to go back through the South one more time. And in the course of 1 year, I have watched her just really transform her entire life. And I would say that if she takes that test now, she will definitely identify as a wisdom keeper, because she has balanced out every single direction in such a way that it is just stunning to watch. And I'm watching that too with, the people who are on the call today who are in the mentorship, that just seeing those transformations happen from one direction to another direction to another. So what's really beautiful about working in the actual season that you're in, or the direction, is that energy is amplified to a point where it's so tangible. And you can feel it. Like you go outside in the summertime, and I will say that this time of the year is really hard to rein people in from outside. We had, so many people signed up for this webinar, and some of them are still outside playing, because that's what the South does. It gets you into this energy where you don't want to be pulled from that energy. And so what we do is we capitalize on that, and we use it to our advantage to really work with it in a very, very deep and courageous way. So the Sacred Heart Warrior, again, relationships are very important to them. These are the people who will put their relationships first. And that is their, not primary focus, but there's a lot of emphasis on the relationship to themselves and to the people around them, but also to the world outside, to nature, to the trees, the plants. It's that having that reverence of that connection that you have with people. So that's the Sacred Heart Warrior. Let me get back over here to my little slideshow. My computer is locking up. I love technology. See, when I say that, it'll actually work. You know what? You already know who I am. So here's some famous Sacred Heart Warriors. John Lennon, Adishante, Deva, Mother Teresa, Bob Marley, Drumvalo, Byron Katie. So a lot of the really, you think about the arts, so a lot of probably, famous actors. Not that all of them are, but you look at who really loves what they do, and that's a good indication that they're a Sacred Heart Warrior. Check this out. My sister made me this cup. Dakota, Earth, Cloud. And then it's got our logo on it. I love my sister. That's a beautiful relationship that I have there. So when you see somebody who is an artist or who is in that creative field and they thrive, they really, really just, they're passionate about what they do, then oftentimes they are a Sacred Heart warrior. And actually, passion anywhere is a sign of a Sacred Heart warrior. So these are some of their abilities. Now, when they show up in the shadow side, that's where they have either deficient or excess energy. This is what we want to balance out. And so you have people who are codependent. And a lot of times codependency is a lack of self-love, really. It's lacking that relationship with yourself, so you build it into your relationship with other people, and you focus on taking care of them because that's what you identify yourself with. The thing about codependency is that you actually disempower other people when you are being codependent, because when you're doing something and you're taking away from them being able to do that for themselves. So, just kind of keep that in mind if that is one of your go-tos. And then you have like people who, you see this on Facebook a lot, I call it the emotional hijacking. Somebody writes a post on Facebook and they say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that my life is falling apart." And then that's it. And then they're begging for you to say, "What's going on? Are you okay? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah." That's emotional hijacking, and that's a sign of having the south direction way out of balance. Being overly emotional. You meet somebody and 5 minutes later they know your entire life story. They know like all the dirty details and everything. They don't have that emotional boundary, so they just spill it all, and that's a deficiency in the south direction. You also have the drama chasers, the ones who, "Oh my gosh, I lost my job. I can't pay my utility bills. I got kicked out of my apartment. My dog died. My mom's disowning me. I got kicked out of my class. I don't have money to buy groceries." And, their whole life is full of drama. And that is also a sign of the deficiency or the excess in the south direction. A lot of times somebody's external world is a direct reflection of their internal world. And if you want to ever know, really, I heard this from Deepak Chopra once, where if you want to know what you were thinking 10 years ago, look at your body right now. And that is the manifestation of where you were emotionally 10 years ago. If you want to know what you are creating in the future, look at your external world right now. If you're living in chaos, then that is the chaos that is within you. If you're living a life where you are emotionally blocked, then you're probably not going to have really deep connections outside of yourself. You're not going to have those deep relationships that you're probably yearning for. And so these kind of go through, I just went through a lot of these. The excess energy also is those people who seek validation outside of themselves. They really want to be fulfilled, but they look for that outside of themselves. And that all of that kind of comes back to self-love. How do we love ourselves well? And then deficiency. So what happens is when you have a deficiency or an excess, you're pushing energy somewhere else. So a deficient south or north, you're pushing energy usually in the east or the west. So deficient south people, tend to overthink things and overanalyze, and so they become more numb and disconnected from their emotions. They lack that vibrancy in their lives. They have this extreme independence. So you have codependence in the south and you have extreme independence. What we strive for in that balanced area is that interdependence where there's a give and a take. You can receive help, but you can also give help. Deficient south, they don't have that tie into their emotional body, so they really don't know what they feel. So a lot of times it may be, I either hate something or I love something. I'm either angry or I'm happy. But they don't know those little differentiating things. It's not really anger. Maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's depression. Or maybe it's joy or elation or fulfillment. Or, there are 1,000 different emotions that we can feel. And somebody who is balanced in the South will actually feel that range of emotion. Somebody who's deficient, it's either black or white. And their relationships usually have a lack of depth to them. So the balanced, coming back into that balance, is somebody who is very warm and engaging, who can be in that conversation, but connected in that conversation. There's a difference. Like somebody can talk cerebrally, something like that. They can have that conversation in their head, or they can have it from that heart-centered space. Also, somebody who is balanced is going to have that vibrant life that just feels really connected and full of juiciness and sensuality. And when I say sensuality, it's not just that sexual side of relationships, but it's that I had a sensuous moment last week. We got some peaches from the farmer's market, and I allowed myself to sit outside on the deck in the sun and eat it very slowly, with just the juice just flowing down and just tasting every moment. And that was a very sensuous moment to have. I had to take a shower afterwards, but to be in that moment with just that peach was pure divinity to me. And that's how I'm trying to balance out my South direction. So these are some tools that we can use to balance that South. It's, having art, being out in nature. For me, it's kayaking and hiking and really getting connected and tied back into the earth. It's building on the relationships and that emotional work, setting boundaries for myself. And then also there's, different meditations. We have a retreat coming up next week, and we're going to be doing a lot of these. We're doing sound meditation, guided meditations. We're doing nature walking and singing, and we're doing trance dance and shamanic breath work. And we're bringing in all those juicy, succulent tools that is going to wake people up and really bring them back into their body and their heart space. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have this download. You can go on our website and get this download through, I have to figure out how you get this. It's through taking the sacred, or through the soul archetype test. You can get this PDF file. And I'm not going to go into all of these other little details. This is, I just wanted to give you a few points on the South direction. But I know we're running close to time, so I want to open up for questions and answers, but I also want to touch into what this, so we're opening up to this mentorship that begins on June 22nd. And we have a wild group going through. We already have, I think, 30 people signed up for the mentorship who are going to be taking this deep dive into the South direction and working on all of this. Plus, we're going to be doing, for the first time, we're actually going to be working a lot with the twin flame energy and soulmates and the divine feminine and masculine sides of ourselves, and intuition and relationships and emotions. And all of these energies combined are exactly where we are in the world right now. There's such a need and pull and drive for us to connect at that heart space level. And we're seeing it happen, that the global community is really unifying right now. Ironically, America is kind of pulling out of that because of our current circumstances, but the people are not. Just our government is, which is exactly what needs to happen. Separate the government from the people and let the people connect with the world around us, which is such a great place for us all to be, and to be diving into this South direction to do all of this work. So I'm opening it up to questions and answers, but I also want to, I've got some people here who are on the mentorship that have agreed to also answer questions, because for me, the ones who will tell you the most about the mentorship are the ones who are actually in it. So Maurice and Jillian, I know you guys agreed to, if you guys want to unmute yourselves, and I'm not sure if Patricia, if you were open to being on, or or not, but if you do, let me know. So, Maurice, you have done how many directions?
This is going to be my 4th.
Your 4th. So you are round the wheel.
Yep.
Round the wheel you go. And so how do you feel your life has changed being in the mentorship?
It's put me really in touch with Mother Nature. Like, that was the first thing that I noticed, and getting back into the cycle of just really grounding in this earth and connecting to my soul on a deep level. And
Yeah.
there's just too many things to list off, but like in addition to that, it was also finding my voice was a big one that was that came up for me, and then also just getting the support of the community.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful and transformative.
Yeah, the community is amazing. You guys are a powerhouse. So what do you look forward to going into the South?
Yeah, I want to awaken my creative juices, and I'm a tropical girl, so I just looking forward to feeling that energy again.
Yeah, nice. So Maurice started out with us in the Philippines and is now living in Amsterdam, and soon will be in Bali.
Yeah.
Our global trotter. And Jillian, you're going to go through the South for the 2nd time. And Jillian is from Australia, so she's actually going into the Soul Shaman, but she's with us for the Sacred Heart Warrior this time around. And what do you feel, because you've already been through the South, the way that we did it last year, we're going to do it completely different this year. It's 30 times better. But what did you get from it when you went through it last time?
Well, I think I can echo Maurice in that it just really opened my eyes to the connection with Mother Earth and Father Sky, and being open and aware and looking for the messages. That was a big take from me, because you had an exercise in there that, I don't know if you're doing it this time, but you had an exercise in there where for a week we had to go out every day into nature and look for symbols and signs, and then share that with our guide to get the meanings for the symbols and messages. And I use that every day. And I've shared it with so many people because it was really, really meaningful and powerful for me to make that sacred connection to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Really. And that's what's really grounded me, because I just think I was too much in my head, and I needed to get out of my head, and connecting to Mother Earth in that way has just really helped me to ground and get out of my head.
Yeah.
So I was so grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a great exercise. I hadn't planned on bringing that one back in, but we might do that for one of the challenges. So, and these guys don't know this yet, but we are doing this incredible, this is going to be just phenomenal, this challenge. So in the last direction, we spontaneously did this 30-day authenticity challenge, and it was mind-blowing. The amount of, it was like a crash course in soul growth, I swear to God. And I'm going to make that into its own course because it was just so phenomenal. But this time around, we're going to do something similar. And actually, Maurice, you had a tie into this. You don't know this, but you said something that you really wanted to bring art back into the exercises. So we're doing a 26-day expression love warrior challenge. And you get to express yourself in 4 different ways: video, photo, journaling, or artwork. And every day you're going to be given a challenge based on the content that we're working on at that time. And the challenges will be really fun. I'm really, really, really excited about this challenge. And I'm building it into the program, so it's not going to be so overwhelming this time. But I will tie that back into that challenge just for you, Jillian. So,
it occurred, it was profound for me anyway.
Yeah.
And my soul type was soul shaman. While you were speaking, it just occurred to me why, because I love winter. Winter's really the time when I come alive.
Yeah.
So that it all just ties in. So the medicine wheel is just perfect.
Yeah. It is so beautiful. I love this work. So if anybody has any questions, there's 3 ways you can ask a question. One is just unmute yourself and ask. And you'll learn this about me, especially if you come into the mentorship, that it's very much like this. It's, we do the live calls where everybody just kind of pipes in. You can write in the chat box. You can raise your hand and I'll call on you. You're welcome to come in on video or voice, however you want to. You can ask me, you can ask these guys. And if you don't ask a question, we're just going to keep on talking. So, but so the mentorship, let me just speak into that just a little bit, because there were a couple of questions that actually did come in on that. Let me find out what they were. Someone was asking, I don't have the time to be on the live calls. Is that going to affect me being able to be on the mentorship? And there was somebody else who had a question about they were going to be on vacation because it is summertime here. I'm going on vacation too, sometime. I don't know when, and no, it doesn't affect you, because the classes are set up where every week you get a class in your portal. In fact, you know what I could do? Do this. Let me see here. Are you guys seeing my screen? I'll show you the visionary, actually, because this is, oh no, I'll show you the love portal. The Love Warrior portal, look at that. That's half my fun is coming up with the names of things and the little icons that go with them. That's the East energy, my geekiness that comes out. So every week you get a module in your course, your main course, and that is the course. That's where you'll get a teaching, you'll get soul work to integrate into your life so that you can do that at your own time and space. Some of these guys are still working on some of their East energy work or their East direction work. And then every other week, you're going to get a challenge for the Love Warrior Challenge. And then you also get 14 weeks of meditations, and those you do on your own time. So the meditations actually start on the 22nd, and they end after the class actually ends, because I like to have people have a lead into and a taper off of the directions. And it also gives those who are here for the Wisdom Keeper program, or those who keep going from direction to direction, it gives them some work to do in between our sessions so that they're not left out of the loop. And then you also have these live calls, which are on Thursdays. We do 2 different call times, and we record every single call so that you can listen to it whenever you want to. If you miss it, you can listen to the recording, or a lot of them actually will be on the call, and then they will also come back and re-listen to the recording again, or they'll go to one call and then listen to the other call. We do 2 different time zones, or 2 different times, just because we have so many global people. We try to, when it's 7 o'clock my time, what time is it for you, Jillian? It's like 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, something like that. It's something crazy. You're muted. There. Wait.
In the morning for me now.
What time is it now?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's 6 o'clock in the morning there for you now?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. I love you. I don't get up at 6 o'clock for anybody.
I got up at 5.
Oh, jeez. Okay. And like Patricia, you're in England, so I think it's like 6 hours ahead there. So you usually come to the 3 o'clock call.
It's 5 hours.
5 hours,
So,
okay.
yeah, it's 9 o'clock now.
Yeah, so we do the 2 different call
Evening.
times. So, yeah. So sometimes it gets a little late for some people, or a little early for Jillian. And then you also have, so here in your portal, you also get some bonus courses. Everybody gets the introduction to the medicine wheel. And then when you join the Wisdom Keeper program, which is the year-long program, you actually get a bonus course for each of the directions. So you'll get the north direction is Dreaming Our Soul Home. Sacred Purpose is for the east. The Wisdom Keepers will also get Awaken Your Heart, which is for the south. And then there's another one that we're working on right now for Ritual and Ceremony that will be for the west. And then you also have the website's got its own kind of Facebook type thing. So you get your own profile. You can personalize it to you. We kind of chat in here, but we also have another community platform that we use for the actual community. I'm not going to show that to you because there's a lot of private conversations that happen on there that are, it's just a dynamic community. I can't keep up with the conversations on Slack, but I try. And it's just, everybody really is very supportive, and this is a really great group to come into. And I think for every direction, what happens is we have an influx of new people who come in, and they feel a little awkward because they're coming into this community that is already really tight-knit. And that usually lasts about a week. And then after that, everybody's like just glued. And I think, in fact, I think this next round, there's only 1 or 2 people who are not going on to the next direction because they've already gone through the south. But everybody is going back around again. So you guys will have your family intact, those of you who are here. So that's kind of what we have going on there on that part of it. So when somebody says, I don't have time for the live calls, it's not the, this time around we're doing live calls a little differently. Every other week is question and answers. And then the off weeks or the other weeks, we will be actually doing live workshopping with each other. You guys will have exercises. We'll do breakout groups. We'll do some fun stuff. So does anybody have any questions whatsoever that I can answer right now? Or any of the mentorship people, do you guys have anything you want to add to that you think I'm missing out on? Here's where I do the do 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 do. Now, if you're not in America, you probably don't know what that tune is for, but that's the Jeopardy song. There was, this question actually came up a while ago. Someone was asking me about the medicine wheel in general. If you have to, how do they phrase it, be Native American or subscribe to Native American spirituality to be able to utilize it? And the answer is no. The beauty of the medicine wheel is that it is a container that fits in whatever your belief systems, whatever your belief system fits or is. So whether you're Buddhist, Christian, shamanic, Celtic, whatever it is that you resonate with, that will fit into the medicine wheel, because we're working with the energies of the wheel. We're working in a seasonal kind of direction and bringing that balance into every aspect of our life. And the way I teach things, it's that we work on really embodying our sacred purpose. And sacred purpose shows up not just in what you do for a living. That is part of it. That's the east direction. But it is sacred relationship, which is the south. It is our environment, which is the west. And it is our spiritual body, which is in the north. And you bring all those together to your sacred purpose is the expression of your life. It is not what you do. It is not who you are. It is who you are to some degree, but not in the 3D way. But it is really more about how you express yourself in your life. So that's the really cool thing about the medicine wheel. It's very encompassing. But so if you don't have any questions, then I don't want to take any more time of your beautiful Sunday afternoon and morning and evening. But I will say to you each that I was toying back and forth with those of you who showed up on the webinar today, that this week I have fielded so many questions about twin flames. It is unbelievable to me how many people are really seeking that clarity about twin flame energy. And so what I am going to do, if any of you, all of you who are on the mentorship will get this, I'm going to give you the 2 newest twin flame meditations so that you can have those just to have them. And for anybody else who signs up for the mentorship, we do close enrollment on Woodpeaky side. It was 12:12 in the morning, midnight, on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So you'll see the countdown clock. But if you sign up for the mentorship for this next direction, we will throw in also those meditations for you, and also the full meditation immersion that comes with the mentorship. Usually the wisdom keepers get that, but I'm going to throw it in for anybody who joins the mentorship this south direction, because that immersion actually has about 4 or 5 shamanic breathwork sessions in there, which is very powerful, and I want everybody to be able to have that experience. So everybody gets the immersion who shows up for this mentorship. But we do have the doors open for enrollment, and that does close in 3 days. So if you don't get into this session, it won't open back up until next year. So don't miss out. And all of you on the mentorship, on the 22nd, for anybody who signs up and for you guys, we are doing the Wisdom Keeper Retreat here next week. So a lot of your peeps will be here. And we'll be doing the live opening ceremony for the South Direction at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So anybody who has signed up will be able to join us live virtually for the opening ceremony. And that is when you guys will have access to your first challenge for that 26-day Love Warrior Challenge. And your meditations will begin that day as well. So you'll have some stuff to do before we have our first live call on the 28th. So something to look forward to. All right. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. I am going to be here at my desk working away, so I'll be on the website. If you want to go take a look at the mentorship program, there's a little icon down at the bottom that says chat with me now. You can chat with me. I'll be here to answer any questions. And I'll get those twin flame meditations out to those of you on the mentorship who have come here today. So I got to remember who's here that will get that. So if I miss you, make sure you come pounding on my virtual door and say, I was there. And I will make sure it gets taken care of, okay? All right. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being here. And let me just make sure on chat I didn't miss anything. I didn't. Okay. Thank you. Bye, guys. Love you. And thank you, my little peeps, for being here.